Revealing the size of the reserves is akin to laying bare our defense plan and will diminish the value of our reserves as a strategic defense. No responsible leader would do so. So I was very alarmed when I heard Associate Professor Jamus Lim citing theoretical literature that speculation could be stabilising. I will also point out that there are other academics who recognize that currency markets can be marked by massive instability. It is in fact well acknowledged by most economists today that market-driven short-term flows are and will continue to be fickle and extremely volatile. The episode in 1992, when hedge fund manager George Soros took on the Bank of England by betting against the sterling pound and dramatically destroyed the UK monetary system, is one stark example. To put it simply, foreign exchange speculations have been and will continue to be a threat to economies, especially small, open ones like ours. As an international financial center, portfolio and banking-related flows in Singapore amounted to $294 billion last year, or 63% of our GDP. Just last year, we saw extreme capital flow volatility in global financial markets due to the uncertainties and risk sentiments associated with the pandemic. MAS kept the Singapore dollar nominal exchange rate stable during this period, backed by the full power of our reserves, giving banks and businesses certainty to make decisions under very trying circumstances. I personally saw this during the Asian financial crisis when I was PPS to Mr. Lee Kuan Yew. Mr. Lee was invited by several countries in the region to share his views, as Singapore was relatively unscathed. I sat in all his meetings. It was very painful to see how speculation and the currency volatilities that these countries face was destroying businesses, big and small, and the lives of men and women in these places. The exchange rate is far more important for a small open economy like ours compared to our neighboring countries. And if our neighboring countries are so badly affected during the Asian crisis, you can imagine the impact on us. The Singapore dollar is one of the most actively traded currencies in the world relative to our GDP, with daily turnover estimated at US $37 billion globally. I repeat, daily turnover estimated at US $37 billion globally, or annual turnover of US $9.5 trillion. Our nominal GDP is just US 350 billion. So you are comparing trillions and billions. Let me share that I was managing director of MAS when the global financial crisis hit the world. Singapore is unique in operating an exchange rate-centered monetary policy. My team and I had to not just be alert to the domino effects of the failures of banks globally, but also the flights of capital and the risk of speculation on the Singapore dollar. If we had been attacked, the businesses in Singapore, big or small, and the lives of our workers would have been severely disrupted. Now, as a board member of MAS, I want to ensure that MAS is able to continue effectively using Singapore's exchange rate to deliver price stability. A very volatile Singapore dollar exchange rate, subject to market fads and bubbles, would not ensure low and stable prices for Singaporeans. In normal times, our nation's reserves also underpin our AAA sovereign rating, credit rating, thus underpinning confidence in our unique exchange rate monetary policy system. So as a practitioner at the front line who tries my best to understand the intricacies of the system, I must caution Associate Professor Jamus Lim. Let us not play with fire. This is about the lives of our people, not theoretical musings.
I did not hear strong reasons why secrecy over our reserves actually helps in that case. Markets, I think we both acknowledge, can be volatile, but I think they tend toward the truth. And indeed, speculation, as I conceded, can in fact be destabilizing if our exchange rate is disconnected from the fundamentals. So what leaves me to wonder is if Minister Heng is suggesting that our current situation, such secrecy can actually help us to maintain what is an otherwise untenable rate, because I know that the ministry has routinely denied that we manipulate our exchange rate.
If the member can keep the clarification short, please.
Yes, and the ministry has routinely denied that we manipulate our exchange rate, only that we seek stability. And I'll stop there.
Let me again state, for the benefit of our currency stability and for the benefit of all these debates around the world about manipulating exchange rate, Singapore does not manipulate our exchange rate. Singapore does not manipulate our exchange rate. We do not manipulate it to secure a competitive advantage, because that is not sustainable. As an economics professor, I think you'll fully understand that. The long-term sustainability for economic competitiveness must come from productivity growth and labor force growth. Our labor force growth is tending towards zero, and so we have to rely on productivity growth, which is why in the next phase of our transformation, you need to focus on technology and innovation-driven growth. So we don't manipulate exchange rate. So what do we do? What is our exchange rate policy centered on? It is not different from other central banks, which is maintained medium-term price stability, so that economic agents, economic players can make decisions on the basis that these are the relative prices that they can make decisions on, that you do not have runaway inflations. And even then, I would say that right now, because of the COVID, there are again new thinking about whether this inflation targeting is the right approach and so on. But as far as Singapore is concerned, we have been maintaining price stability, and that has allowed our economy to have the macroeconomic framework to stay competitive. So your question about our exchange rate regime, I'm glad that you are not saying that we should review our exchange rate regime. That is good. As to your question about why volatility, why the secrecy, I don't wish to hold up this whole forum. I devoted more than 2 pages of my reply to you on that, about the size of currency trading, about my experience in MAS during the global financial crisis, about my experience when I was accompanying Mr. Lee Kuan Yew to the countries which were so badly hit by the Asian financial crisis. So please have a care, and that policy making cannot be theoretical musings.